All right, we are live. Let's do this then. Welcome. Now, you know what? I completely welcome. Welcome?
Welcome.
Who welcomes?
Hello, friends.
Well, it's because
you're in a golf mode.
We're in a golf mode. That's why. That's exactly what it is. I'm in golf mode. That's the problem. That's welcome, for another show.
Friends.
So if we ever did a golf podcast.
We're back at the Butler cabin.
Welcome to the OG Golf Classic. All right, let's try this again. Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. It's just past 2:00. You know what that means. It's time for another Butcher's Market OG Live. Check out the Butcher's Market, thebutchersmarkets.com. It's not too late to think about that big game party. The big game party, Joe.
Now you get your radio brain on.
That's right. And the Butcher's Market can cater that. We have some other catering options and some things that we'll help you out with a little bit later on. But in terms of you hosting your spot, or if you're looking for the bomb buffalo chicken dip, and people are asking, what's that recipe? And it's like, it's been in the family for a long time.
Can't tell you.
Can't tell. Super secret. Got it at the Butcher's Market. Just go to the Butcher's Market. So we appreciate them. We are inside Eford Studios. Thanks to Empire Properties. And of course, thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Bro, we got to get rid of that cough, man.
It's lingering.
This has been multiple weeks.
Lingering.
All right, we'll do something about that. Much like Jim Phillips and the ACC got something done with ESPN today, according to multiple reports.
According to ESPN, citing sources
from
ESPN.
I love when David Hale and Andrea Adelson have sources at ESPN to tell you what's going on. Huh, who could those sources be? Who could those sources be?
Hey.
Look, we got a lot to get into today. Matt Norlander from CBS Sports is going to drop on by in about 15 minutes, talk about Duke and Carolina. But in the meantime, the news of the day is that the thing that we kind of understood was on the table finally happened. Let's just go to the news item itself before we go back to October with a conversation we had with Brendan Marks from The Athletic. The headline over on ESPN sources, a.k.a. us, ESPN OK's option to televise ACC sports through 2036. Everybody knows that the grant of rights runs through 2036, but we found out that ESPN had an option related to one of their television deals with the network, which of course led to a lot of hand-wringing and of course a lot of fan fiction between Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC. As David Hale writes, the agreement is a critical step towards securing stability for the conference, which we'll get to in a bit. With the television deal settled, the ACC is now working towards a settlement with Clemson and Florida State that could end the school's ongoing lawsuits against the conference. Here's where we get to the interesting portion of this. Quote from the story. After ESPN agreed to pick up the option, a decision the ACC Board of Directors voted to approve on Wednesday, sources said the conference is working with additional value adds, which could include creating more marquee matchups in football and men's basketball to maximize content on the networks that would help pave the way towards the new revenue distribution model and a settlement with Clemson and Florida State. Multiple athletic directors told ESPN this would involve using the ACC's relationship with Notre Dame to strategically create more games against the conference's top-tier teams. Earlier this month, Notre Dame athletic director Pete, Bevacqua, right? Said he was open to playing more games against Clemson in the future. Notre Dame currently plays 5 to 6 regular season football games against the ACC annually and is a member of the ACC in all other sports. Negotiations surrounding the option ran in conjunction with discussions between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State on a new revenue distribution model aimed at alleviating the school's biggest concerns over financial disparities with peers in the Big Ten and the SEC, both of which have more generous TV contracts signed over the last 2 years. And of course, here's the key. The thing that we kind of understood over the last few months, under the proposed plan, a percentage of the ACC's television revenue would be included in a quote-unquote brand fund, and that money would then be distributed to schools that annually generate the most revenue for the conference in football and men's basketball and women's basketball. This would include Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, likely atop that pyramid. So that's the news of the day. Let's go back in time, shall we? Let's go to October. ACC tip-off. Strategically timed story from Brendan Marks of The Athletic about this television deal and the confusion that people had related to the base deal, and other things that had tied the ACC and ESPN together.
This look-in is what Clemson and Florida State have sunken their teeth into and said, this is our way. This is the off-ramp. And the reality is that ESPN has two different TV contracts with the ACC. One of them is what you'd call like the quote-unquote base deal. That's all of your primetime games on ESPN, ESPN2, ABC. That's the good stuff. That's the marquee inventory. There is then a separate ACC network exclusive deal. Those were both signed in 2016. Those were both ratified at basically the same time. But the deal in the ACC network deal and the other base deal are not the same deal, and they don't have the same terms. The only thing that is up for discussion during the look-in period is the base deal. The ACC network deal is locked in for the rest of the grant of rights through 2036. The idea that this is somehow is not really reality.
Any commissioner in his position would be negotiating right now. It's what is the going market rate for football right now? Even for the third best conference, the price of the brick has clearly gone up. I guess the question is, how much money can the ACC extract from ESPN? Also, given where they are right now, as they're kind of in a cutback mode themselves.
The ESPN side of it and how much additional revenue you can actually bring to this deal at this point, that I think is sort of, that's what Jim's got to try and come up between now and February.
So again, that was back in October when we were talking to Brendan Marks from The Athletic. And that last part of the conversation, Joe, is the part that I'm going to be most curious about. You can kind of see the idea based on that David Hale story about involving Notre Dame, more marquee matchups, television matchups. What can the ACC provide to give ESPN a reason to maybe kick in some more money or help generate revenue, which, of course, goes back to the top of the pyramid in terms of the brands. Those are the things that we don't have answers to right now, but I got to imagine in order for this to work, we're kind of headed in that direction.
Yeah, this is a good thing for the ACC in terms of stability. In terms of, as you said, market rate, though, well, they've made their bed with ESPN.
Yes.
That's as succinct as you can put it. I would have preferred they had gone out and done what the Big Ten did with the Big Ten's most recent deal, where they went and got other networks involved and were on different channels and all those other good things. But clearly the ACC finds some sense of security with ESPN. We'll see what ESPN now does with the ACC, though, because my argument at the time was, wouldn't someone who's not invested in another conference, the way that ESPN is involved and invested in the SEC, you'd be better off being NBC Sports, Peacock's number one property rather than ESPN's second property. That was obviously, that gets us back to, if we're working in a yodel, the yodel of the mountain, you're going up the mountain. Well, you got to go all the way back down to the mountain, to the construction and the composition of the ACC, to understand why they weren't in a position to go out and go make a deal with anyone else.
Not to relitigate these things, but I understood why two reasons. One, ESPN at the time when they knocked these deals out almost 10 years ago was the most stable of all of these networks, and partnering up with Disney makes a hell of a lot more sense. Now, if Netflix had gotten to the point where they are now, where they're interested in live sports back then, well, then maybe you were willing to listen to that. But even then, I would imagine that the ACC and ESPN would still partner up on this deal. Because you got to remember, ESPN, and this is something that I said during all of this time related to the Florida State, Clemson, banging the table, saber rattling to get out of the conference. And all these people that were like, it would be in ESPN's best interest to get rid of the ACC. And it's like, why would they? They got a great deal with ESPN or the ACC. And look at the direction ESPN and Disney are going. Everything is about inventory. And the ACC provides inventory. Are they
especially after losing the Big Ten?
Are they the marquee inventory? No, they're not the marquee inventory. That's clearly the SEC. But that doesn't mean they don't have other spots where they have to put these games. You still got to fill out the rest of the slate on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU. And of course, as we mentioned with Brendan, there's the ACC network component as well. You also have ESPN Flagship, this breakout standalone app that Disney is trying to get out there by the end of the year or next year. Again, you need inventory for that. So it makes sense that the ACC and ESPN would keep in this deal. Now, spinning this forward, 2036, dude, it's college athletics. I don't even know if a conference is going to exist in 5 years. I mean, like what I'm saying is not the ACC. I'm talking about college athletics in general. With the House settlement and how everything is spinning and everything going on right now, who's to say that in 5 years, what you consider major college football conferences cease to exist? and you get your big teams playing all each other, and then you get back to more regional conferences, as we've talked about in the past. These are things that nobody can predict. Not a soul can predict how this is going to play out in the next 5 years. I really don't know how you know that. But here's what I can say definitively. Joe, is it a coincidence that North Carolina hires Bill Belichick to be their head football coach? Contracts are signed. Bill Belichick's on McAfee all the time. In fact, we're going to play some McAfee clips here in a second. Can I say that Bill Belichick single-handedly saved the ACC just by his mere presence? Because you want to be in the business of Bill Belichick. And who has Bill Belichick? The ACC has Bill Belichick.
That's right.
So I got to imagine that Bill Belichick is the reason why we're here.
All of it. Yeah. I mean, I've already looked at their 28 schedule when they play Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean.
Because Bill Belichick's going to be coaching in 2036, right?
I mean.
All the way through.
Clearly.
He's going to be there in the next. He said he got there not to leave.
Yeah, I didn't come here to leave.
So ESPN clearly sees that and goes, well, damn, we got to be in the Bill Belichick business, right? Yeah, well, maybe.
I think UNC is a brand that, you know, I know we're being slightly facetious here, but
a little bit.
You know, UNC is a brand that is the number one on the open market. That's not in the Big Ten they're not in the open market. UNC is the number one brand that if the Big Ten or SEC were to expand next would want UNC.
Yeah.
Straight up. So there is that. I think now UNC, by hiring Bill Belichick, has announced to the world, we're now serious about the business of college football. I do think that is a real thing.
Why did you send me this?
Because
ESPN is driving realignment.
Because it was sent to me.
Okay.
And it gets the people going.
So I almost feel like this is more of a mailbag segment, but this particular YouTube content, ESPN is driving realignment. ESPN is driving the next phase of the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten realignment. Huge CFB realignment update.
Yeah.
I am not familiar with the Big Mountain podcast.
The best I could tell.
Shout out to them, though. They got 14,000 views on this bad boy.
They're Big Ten guys.
So what's funny to me is the YouTube will straight up tell you, hey, you know, this realignment video did really well for you.
Yeah.
Like one time we ended up getting like 15,000 views on ACC, FSU, Clemson discussion, right? And they're like, you know, it would really help you out if you did another one of these.
If you like money.
You want to do another one of these? And what it ends up happening is, I'm just trying to give you how the sausage is made when it comes to YouTube. YouTube rewards you for going back to the well. And if that means you got to make shit up, well, damn it, you make shit up. And you just get the people going with ESPN is driving. Do I even hit play on this?
I can give you the summation. One of the hosts has a Big Ten source because the Big Ten and SEC are about to meet.
Yeah.
About the future of college football, essentially. And according to his Big Ten source, the SEC wants Carolina. The SEC does because ESPN wants to put Carolina in the SEC.
Okay.
But NC State and UNC are package deals. No mention of Duke in any of this, by the way. And so State would have to go with them. And that the Big Ten really wants to get into the state of Florida. And that would be specifically Miami would be the one that they wanted.
All right, I'm going to hit play here because I'm curious about these.
Okay. We have a huge conference realignment update regarding the Big Ten, the SEC.
All right, first and foremost, guys, I need big white. Come on, man.
Hey, that logo is nice, though.
That is a nice logo. It's not as cool as our metal OG logo. Y'all got no Big Ten stuff to put on that wall? That is a dry wall, guys. Literally dry wall. Literally dry wall. Come on, guys. Step up the game. I need some memorabilia up on that.
With the ACC to possibly move some programs from the ACC, to the SEC. This could include anywhere from 2 to 4 teams, which would bring the SEC up to 18 or 20 teams.
Yep.
Now, why is this important? You know, as far as to the Big Ten 80s, well, because there's going to be some other things that they're going to be talking about as far as like scheduling and realignment and all that stuff. So this is important for them to kind of figure out and lay the groundwork so they know how many teams they're going to have before they can work out some kind of a joint deal with the Big Ten.
So to be clear on that,
yes,
this is very timely because the ACC deadline, or the ESPN deadline to extend the ACC agreement here, is only in a few more days here.
Well, it happened. So what do we do with that now?
What their premise is this is from a Big Ten AD, basically.
Okay.
The premise is that ESPN knows that the Big Ten wants Carolina, and the old Jim Delaney political math works on that front, but Jim Delaney doesn't run the Big Ten anymore.
Right.
Jim Delaney played basketball for Dean Smith at Carolina. So under this premise, ESPN knows that the Big Ten wants Carolina. So instead of letting Carolina leave through whatever path there would be, the ESPN would then put Carolina in the other property it owns, the SEC.
I see. Okay.
And then since they'd have to take Carolina, since they want Carolina, they'd have to take State.
From RX, they're okay, guys. You should do a group interview showdown. I mean, not until they step up their background. I need some old Big Ten memorabilia. That's what I'm looking for. Until they do that.
Yeah, you got to have like Floyd of Rosedale.
Yeah, man, I ain't talking to those guys.
Housekeeping.
I'm kidding.
The old oaken bucket.
I'm being facetious. I'm sure they do a great podcast, and I'll check it out. I'll check out their whole show. Big thanks to Enovana for sponsoring Housekeeping. You can check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
We got Matt Norlander, CBS Sports, waiting on deck. So let's run through some housekeeping here so we don't keep him waiting. We got an After Dark coming up Saturday between Duke and Carolina. I don't know if I'm going to be in Cameron or not, but you're going to be back here in the home base, and dry January will be over, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be home base or in the G. Depends.
All right. That's up to you, man. I know we will be in the G on Wednesday, though. We've got Sully's Golf and Gather, February 5th. Long drive and closest to pin in these bays. $15 to enter. If you want in, email Giglio right now, giglio.joe@gmail.com. It'll be a good time. You participate, and to sweeten the deal, not only do we have these entries and a little fun to be had, a little friendly competition, we also have a very exclusive OG golf hat that will only be available to those who participate in this event.
Amazing.
So not only do you win the long drive and the closest to pin, you're going to get a golf hat, an exclusive OG golf hat on Wednesday.
I like that. We'll have to review that. But 6:30 to 8:30 is when we have the bays. We'll be out there at 6. For those wondering the timing issues there, yes, it will be after work. Plenty of time. Come on over. I think you'll really enjoy the space. And they do have all kinds of beers and food and all good stuff.
And of course, we've got the Basketball Jones coming up at the Rialto on Friday. Bomani Jones in the house. Tyler Hansbrough will be here. Marcus Ginyard will be here. Scott Wood, Lavelle Moten. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will be talking about Duke and Carolina. And I don't know. We have to be nice to Tyler and Marcus, right? Given how things are going at Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to pick any old wounds. We could just tell good stories.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
And Carolina fans might just want some good stories.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Remember that time?
Plenty of them jumped off the roof. And
oh, I know. Did we bring a kiddie pool out to see if he jumps off the stage? Maybe. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast. Matt, what's up?
Hey guys, it's great to be with you. I wish I was down in your area. That Basketball Jones thing with Bomani and Co. sounds like a lot of fun. Frankly, if Carolina was, I don't know, 3 wins more than it has, I genuinely probably would have gone to the game. But
yeah,
we have a packed Saturday. I'm going to be in studio for CBS Sports HQ to recap a whole ton. But I've had the fortune of covering a couple of those UNC Duke games in Cameron. They're always must see, but. Just kind of a bummer because I would have loved to have been with you guys on Friday night.
Matt, Carolina Duke always delivers, man. It doesn't matter if Carolina needed 3 more wins. You know you're going to have something happen at Cameron, right?
Well, that's the thing. Do you think that Carolina can keep this game within single digits at the Final Horn?
I didn't think that NC State was going to keep it within single digits. And
they didn't.
I mean, they led for a good chunk of that.
They did, but I believe the final margin was 10, right?
Yeah, I think it was, but the spread for that one was 22. I think it was 22.5 by the time we got the tip, right? So that was, and I think that's kind of like where Duke is. There's an opportunity for Carolina to do this. And it's not like Carolina hasn't had a quote unquote lesser team go into Cameron and surprise. That's what's on the table here. But the question around North Carolina is, it's kind of like what happened with NC State winning the ACC championship and making a Final Four run. You then go, well, where the hell is that? Where's that been? It's kind of like NC State earlier in the week. Hey, guys, why did it take the Duke game to play like this? What's going on here, guys? I can envision a scenario where Carolina goes to Cameron, wins. That's easy, quote unquote, because they've done it before. And that would actually drive Carolina fans insane, because it's like, guys, where the hell has this been? You should be able to do this against Boston College and not go to overtime. You should be able to do this and not lose at Pitt the way that they did in the last 3 minutes. So I think that's kind of what's at play here for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. And what I'm about to say, I understand there's been even wider gaps where worse teams have made games. In 2022, when Carolina won the first time at Cameron, Duke was 5th at Ken Pom. UNC was 16th. And as we head into this game, Duke is 3rd. Carolina is 38th. So a much bigger gap between the two teams in terms of quality. I don't know what the Coach K final home game spread was. I can't recall it off the top of my head, and I didn't research it, but I'm willing to wager that this upcoming spread will be at least 4 or 5 points bigger, and understandably so. I'm hoping that we get a good game. Man, I want to see UNC have some success here. Play up to your reputation as a program. And I think what's happening right now is that UNC, because it is now in this spot again for the second time in 2 years, where it's a preseason top 10 team. I understand 2 years ago, number one, it's a whole different deal. But now it is entering into the zone where it has become a program that is letting down more often than not. And it is not a team that is thriving off of everything that comes with being a blue blood, getting the big recruits, winning at a high level in conference, winning key games nationally, being a 1, 2, or 3 seed way more often than not. This is a program that has more Final Fours than any team in the sport. And if UNC goes into Cameron on Saturday, and when you do your show that night, you wind up talking about another Cooper Flag 23-8-6-3 game, and Duke winds up winning it, 82-67 or whatever. UNC is going to be well outside the NCAA tournament picture. It will be a 5-alarm fire. The sirens will be blaring, and Carolina fans are going to be sitting there asking, like, how did we actually get to this point, while acknowledging they've been bracing for this reality. I'm not going to say it's a worst case scenario, because it's not, but man, oh man, even the Carolina fans that were pessimistic heading into the season because all the non-gets in the portal could not have envisioned that this team would be 13-10 if in fact they do lose at Cameron on Saturday.
Matt, we talked before this season about Duke and what they could be this year. Have they delivered on what were your preseason thoughts about the Blue Devils?
Yeah, Joe, I would love to hear your thoughts of what I'm about to say here, because I was thinking about it earlier this week. I had a quick nugget at the bottom of my court report at cbssports.com on Wednesday. I actually think we are not quite giving Duke enough credit, and I'm not someone who tends to say or write those kind of sentiments, because I feel like sometimes we fall back on that. But when I look at what Shire has done now in year 3, one, you got to give. I know it's Duke, so you're going to get certain players, but he still has to land them. He got them, and he's making them work. Okay, yeah. And an 18-2 program that has not been this good in the ACC since 07-08, and I believe if they win over UNC, I looked it up. I think if they beat Carolina Saturday, it'll be the best start since Reddick was on the team. There is a all too easy scenario to envision in which I talked about, if only Carolina had 3 more wins. Well, if Duke was 15-5 instead of 18-2 right now, it would be completely understandable. They'd still be an interesting team. They wouldn't be a top 5 team, but we'd get it. Like we'd give them a little bit of room of slack, all things considered. That's not what this is. Duke has been the number 1, number 2, or number 3 team in predictive metrics for almost 90% of the season. They've been riding that spot almost to number 1 in the AP top 25 to this point. If Auburn can't get it done on the road this weekend and Duke gets it done, Duke's going to be number 1 in the poll, I think, for the first time in 4 years. It's been a minute since they've actually been number 1 in the AP top 25. So my opinion is that Duke, and Shire in particular, hasn't been given quite enough credit for exceeding the expectations that were on this team. I think he's done a wonderful job, but perhaps you disagree. I'm curious where they are right now.
No, I don't disagree. In fact, I've actually gotten a little pushback on that very thought, in that in year 3, I don't think we're really talking about Duke the right way. Okay. You brought up Auburn. I think it's kind of funny that Duke we hand waved the fact that Auburn came to Cameron and Duke did an excellent job. I know it's at home and all that other stuff, but supposedly the team that's coming out of the SEC, which is the best conference in the land right now, Duke, that's not necessarily getting challenged in the ACC, still has gone toe-to-toe with all their other big games and beat Auburn. They deserve a little bit more credit for that. I think on a local level, well, there's one more national point, and then there's the local level of what's happening and why I don't think Shire is getting a lot of credit or Duke's not getting credit. Nationally, this is really easy to understand, and what I said 3 years ago is coming to fruition. John Shire doesn't bring heat like Coach K. Now, Coach K had 40 years of kicking your ass. Joe and I make this joke all the time. What do you like to say about Coach K for a guy who always talked about the league and wanted to get more teams from the conference in the NCAA tournament? What did Krzyzewski tend to do?
Oh, he'll beat you by 40.
Right.
At his place.
You need this?
you need this one?
Nah, too bad. I'm going to crush you.
You want me to make it close? Nah.
Let's go. Let's go.
Nah.
Verve.
Come on, Duke.
Oh, see, I was gonna say, Matt's got the hot board there back in the home studio. I love that.
I do.
So Shire doesn't have that because A, he literally just got there. B, and
He's
this
likable.
This is the part that people are struggling with. Duke's actually likable, and people don't know what to do with a likable. No, they're likable, dude. Anybody who's hating on Duke and on John Shire. It is a projection, and that
you remember how John Shire was treated as a player. What has changed?
Well, how was he treated as a player? People just
the whole Shire face. He got attacked for being awkward on the floor. That was pretty consistent.
Dude, that was just jokes on the internet. There's nothing malicious.
No, jokes on the internet. Maryland fans cut out 74 different Shire faces and brought him to the student section. That's not jokes on the internet.
But that's Maryland being Maryland. It wasn't like they motherfucked him like JJ Redick during the national anthem. You know what I'm saying?
But it was still there.
So I'm just saying.
I will push back. I will push back on Duke being likable. Duke is not hated, but I'm not. You cannot get me to the point where that Duke is likable.
You know why they're hated though, and why I think they're not getting credit, especially here locally or in the ACC.
Okay.
This is where this gets to Carolina, and we'll transition to what's going on with Hubert Davis and going forward and everything else. The big freak out, and I've been screaming this for the last 3 years. Duke looks like they got it right. They look like a modern college basketball program.
Correct.
Okay. They look like a modern college basketball program. They have everything in place and they're utilizing it. They won the ACC championship the first year. They got to the Elite Eight last year with arguably a worse team than that first year. Lose to State. It is what it is. And this year they got Cooper Flag and it looked like the real deal. Mm-hmm. So they're looking like a team that knows what they're doing. You cannot say the same thing about North Carolina. And I think that's why you're having the kind of reaction that you're having. So it's not necessarily a hate of Duke. It's shit. Did they get it right? And we're trying to figure this out.
That's a good point. Giglio, do you think if Carolina misses the tournament and that coincides with Duke making just even a Final Four, I'm not going to say they win the whole thing, they make a Final Four, do you think that accelerates the decision and conversation around Hubert Davis's employment?
I think if Carolina misses the NCAA tournament, it accelerates that Hubert is on the clock next year and needs to turn it around in a big way.
I think we agree. Do we agree that we don't see him getting fired regardless of outcome here? I don't see that happening.
I mean, if the bottom falls out the rest of the season.
I mean, if they lose 7 in a row, then we have a new conversation. That shouldn't happen. But if Carolina is like, the 6th team out of the bracket or whatever, I'm hesitant to say that they would make a change, but I want to respect how involved and invested the Carolina fan base is. But this is why I want to come on and talk to you guys about this, because I wanted to get your feel on the ground there. I just can't get myself there yet. Not to say it wouldn't be warranted, but I don't necessarily see that happening. But I wonder if Duke being Duke, obviously Duke is Duke, if they continue to do what Ovies just put on the table there, and they got to watch the hated Blue Devils not just get a 1 seed, but like strut to the Final Four. And meanwhile, we just missed the tournament for the second time in 3. I wonder if those become outside factors, that the people that matter at Carolina that make these decisions, if that moves them a little bit more.
Real quick, this is something that Joe and I have talked about since 2022, and the process that Mike Krzyzewski went through to put John, whether it's Shire or not, that's what they ended up with. They had their succession plan. Coach K is trying to win an ultimate war here. And I've said this multiple times, and feel free to use this with Gary on Eye on College Basketball. In 2022, Carolina might have won the battle. Okay. That chapter closes with them winning it. You send Coach K off on his sad little golf cart with Mickey. Off he goes in the Final Four. Okay.
I was behind that golf cart.
I know. I was there. I saw it.
Yeah.
You and I were both there for that. But the existential crisis that's happening in Chapel Hill is they might have won the battle, but Duke might have won the war and is in the process of winning said war with this succession plan. Now, to that end, I know we have a Duke fan that points us out all the time, is that you're not that far away from turning things around. I mean, just how bad was Louisville? Okay. Pat Kelsey comes in there and it looks like a competent program, and they seem to be playing the game the way they should be playing. So that money matters. And it's not like Carolina doesn't have money. So they have money. They have money. They have
How much is the question?
They got money. The greatest joke was convince Michael Jordan that this is a casino. But what it actually is, it's an NIL factory that pumps the money into the basketball program.
I think you have, Matt, to answer your question, I think you have two things working here on the Carolina administrative front. They just made a significant investment in football. Significant, right?
Nothing of its kind ever in the history of that university.
Correct. So I think while there are a growing number of frustrated fans, and there's an even larger number of Carolina basketball fans who are like, this is not our standard, this is not good enough for us. I think on the cooler heads, on the administrative front, I think Bubba Cunningham and even Hubert's biggest detractors on the board of governors and or trustees could go, all right, you had the finals in your first year in 22. You were a number 1 seed. And now you've had these 2 bad years. You get 1 year as this is your last chance, right? And that also helps you financially reset, because while the financial football commitment continues, it may not continue at the same level for Bill Belichick and the head coaching salary in particular. That $10 million number may not be $10 million for year 2. So that's where, and also, what is the obvious move? What is the obvious move for Carolina basketball at this point, Matt? Like, I know what my theory is, but I'm curious as yours as a national observer. If you were the czar of UNC basketball and you could hire anyone to be the coach to replace Hubert Davis, to get you back to your old standard, what would the obvious move be?
In my opinion, there is not an obvious move, because you are going to have to go outside of the family for the first time.
That's number 1. Yeah,
that has to be the move now.
Yeah,
and just like I've picked up a little, I don't know if this is the aisle you're leading me down on, but like even like your Nate Oates level, like I just never say never on these things, but like even a coach at that level, with how much Alabama has invested into him and the significant number of the buyout there, like I don't think that's it. Are you moonshotting the chance that, like, here's the I was just talking with a source with someone about this like an hour and a half ago. This is total hypothetical stuff.
Sure.
Because this source just happens to believe that Brad Stevens will one day at some point coach again. Now, I don't think this is soon, because he's got kids that are still going through high school. I just don't think he's gonna do it soon. But what if you had Carolina and Indiana in the same cycle, have jobs come open and both of them vie? I think UNC fans, I think that is their one hope and prayer, that like, are we prestigious enough that we can get a guy on a level of Brad Stevens, say, you know what, I've accomplished everything that I could possibly do with the NBA and the Boston Celtics as a coach, as a GM. Maybe the Celtics, are well on their way to get another championship or whatever.
Okay, Matt, I'm going to stop you right there. What about the current state of college basketball makes you think that Brad Stevens wants to do it?
I agree. But
now, what's more likely is the Nate Oates Giglio theory.
Yeah, I was leading you to Nate Oates, but this is the theory, and this is my theory, and I can't wait for it to come home, because I feel like it has a real chance. Why I say obvious, I think this year you would have no chance at getting Nate Oates this year. because of the timing. Like you'd have to fire Hubert the day before the NCAA tournament starts. You would not be able to hire Nate Oates, right?
Yeah.
I think Nate Oates goes to the Final Four at minimum this year. Knock on wood. I have a very nice ticket on that. I think they could win the national championship. I think they, in an open field as this year is, I think they have as good a chance as anyone to win the national championship. I think the response at Alabama to Nate Oates winning the national championship is going to be cool, awesome. Like, I just can't put it any other way.
Dimitri might buy like a home field championship
sweatshirt,
a hoodie, but
no,
he'll buy a
there'll be
championship
immediate
hoodie.
questions about who's the new offensive coordinator. Is Kalen DeBoer calling plays? Who's the backup tight end?
Yeah.
Wait, are we paying our strength coach $1 million? I say all of that in a joking way. As a competitor, if you're Nate Oates and you deliver the success that he has, I actually, getting back to my gambling stories, I bet on Alabama at Kentucky for the very specific reason. You, as Nate Oates, you can't tell Kentucky to fuck off after they tripled your salary and go in there and lose. You go in there, you put it in their ear, which is what he did. Now, at some point, though, as a competitor, you have to look at it and go, what do I want? And I think if you win this thing in Alabama, now you set your sights to say, okay, I did it here. It's now time to take one of these Kentucky, Carolina, Kansas jobs and show that I can do this. That's the competitive brain that I think Nate Oates has. This is the guy who called out Mike Krzyzewski, remember, which is why Carolina fans wanted him or still want him, right?
And among others, I mean, he called out Sean Miller in Arizona in their halftime of the tournament.
I mean,
which
but
is weird because he had a good relationship with Kay.
I think it has to be that kind of sequence, though, Matt, because I know you can't get him this year.
I can't see that. Yeah. I know a lot of it was said like tongue in cheek. I get the impression that I need to be extremely clear about this. When I say they care more and have invested more in men's basketball now than ever before, that is true, but still in the best case scenario, it's like 17% of the bar if football's 100%. So it's all relative. And the points that you bring up there, Giglio, about his competitive nature and taking a step up are very valid, and certainly something to consider. But I think that we're a year away. And then I also like Roy being Roy and how just beloved he is. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the sport, and we can wrap this up because I know you guys got a show to do, but just like between this
is the show.
And then Villanova's got to worry about Kyle Neptune and the Jay Wright connection. There's like a lot of this stuff going on and has been going around the sport. And it can show you how, like, if you allow your legends to have some decision-making power, it can go right, i.e. hello Durham, but it can also really spin backward on you and create these really awkward situations that can wind up being fairly costly to athletic departments. And in both cases with Kyle and Hubert specifically, really, really, really nice guys. But the winning has not been nearly enough. And, big picture, UNC has done better than Nova, which is struggling to even get into a tournament. Hubert got a 1 seed and he got to the damn title game. But it's a fascinating thing. And the fact that it lands here, I did not think we'd be here talking about UNC at Duke and Carolina being outside the damn tournament picture when they play on their first meeting. To me, there's no excuse for it. And if they don't have Jalen Washington again, I mean,
even if they had Jalen Washington, I'm not quite sure.
I know, but like even without him, I struggle to think like, what the hell are they going to work up that they can win in that building? But
because that's the thing.
I was gonna say, you have a Sun run,
right? I mean, to kind of put it succinctly with the record behind you,
going the distance.
If Carolina's going to go the distance,
that's right.
They got to go for speed, and they got to hit threes. That's something that Duke cannot consistently do. Right now, Duke's got a great defense, don't get me wrong, but as we saw in the NC State game, offensively, they're not quite there. They're just not quite there.
They're not.
And Cooper Flag, do you want to hit Matt with your 03 comp?
Oh, I had a vision.
Yeah, it came to him. Let's
dream.
Let's bounce this off of Matt before we say goodbye.
In a dream, because you were on this program in the preseason.
Yeah.
I gave you blindly the stats of Josh McRoberts from 06, 07.
I forgot.
You nodded your head. You're like, yeah, that sounds great. That would be a great. And I said,
and he's been better.
Well, I did say he'll probably take more threes and make more threes, score a few more points,
because that's the nature of the game.
That is how the game has changed. This is the pre-Steph Curry era that McRoberts played in. And sure enough, those numbers line up just as we predicted in the preseason. Those numbers they line up. Okay. If you can see.
I love the classic Giglio yellow notepad.
Yeah,
That's
now
incredible.
the name you can't read in the middle there is Carmelo Anthony from his year at Syracuse. And I think there are some 1-for-1 parts there. A flag is your Melo.
Knipple is your McNamara.
Is your designated white shooter. GMAC. And then Hakeem Work was a sophomore. To my Syracuse friends, I apologize, my Philly fans. But man and Hakeem Work would be your kind of inside rim protector erasers. The thing that Syracuse had in Edelin and Quethwaney were those ancillary parts that kind of supported in those bigger moments. I really feel like Duke is missing some of those ancillary parts, and that could be Proctor, could be Gillis, could be, we saw
Malik Brown defensively.
The guy Evans, Guy Evans who made 6 threes against Evans. Against
That's
Auburn.
true.
It could be. But so far, to me, that's what's separating Duke from to your point earlier about are we giving them enough credit? I think the national results early of Kentucky and Kansas are holding people back, and myself included, for giving Duke more credit for where they are right now.
Okay, maybe a little bit. I like your Syracuse 03 comp. I happen to be this is a flashback to an earlier Norlander, but I was in a long distance relationship with a girlfriend who went to Syracuse. So I happened to see that Syracuse team in person like 5 times that season. I'll never forget. I went up to visit, and it was between it was after the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 and before the Final Four, walking on the quad. Melo had the flip phone, and it's the first time in person I was convinced, and understandably so. It was a fake call. He was taking a fake call so people wouldn't be bothered because it was absolute madness. At the point they hadn't won the national championship, but good God, Syracuse making the Final Four. Intimately familiar with that team. Obviously, this Duke team does not have a Craig Forth. Shouts to Craig Forth all these years later. But I think that makes a lot of sense in there, and the comp is completely understandable. And I give Duke a ton of credit. Right now, actually, excuse me, we have a thing called, it was a writers roundtable we published, and it'll go up today or tomorrow at the latest, but we did Coach of the Year pick at this point, and I was the only one to pick Shire. I picked Shire as Coach of the Year, all things considered, and a couple guys voted for Pearl. It's more than reasonable, but I said I give him credit for recruiting. Yeah, it's Duke, but you should get credit for getting the dudes regardless. And then he had a lot of young guys, and it seems to have worked extremely well at this point. And oh, by the way, the 2 losses are to Kentucky and Kansas, and they're by a combined, single-digit margin, whatever it is, 7-8 points, whatever it was, and they were in both of those games. So I still think Duke's going to get picked off, by the way, guys. I don't think they're going to run the table. They got that Clemson roadie that's still waiting for them.
We'll see.
I'm talking to only ACC.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think they're losing at least once in league play. It rears its head somewhere. Hell, and maybe it's this weekend. But regardless, they're clearly on the path to getting a 1 seed and exceeding all the expectations. The one thing I keep getting back to is Cooper Flagg, who just turned 18. Joe, no longer 17.
Seriously, harass me over text message if you hear me like invoking that kind of stuff. I'm so done with it.
No, so with Cooper Flagg, it's one thing that is abundantly clear that in the third year makes a huge difference over the previous 2 groups for John Shire. There is, as the kids would say, that dog in him. And I'm not talking about the Costco dog for $1.50. He's got that dog in him that I think will ultimately kind of push him in those moments, especially in league play. And then perhaps they can get to the final.
I follow exactly what you're doing. For those that might be listening, I put a vinyl record over my shoulder every time I do a podcast or an HQ hit, and I went with Cake's fantastic 1990s record Fashion Nugget.
Will you be watching the game?
It's a 4-letter word, by the way.
Yeah. Will you be watching the game from your Italian leather sofa mat?
Yes, absolutely. What about you and your rock and roll lifestyle?
No, I'll stick shifts and safety belts. I'll be getting over there to Cameron on Saturday. So stick.
I think Carolina fans abide by this mantra. By the way, we can wrap on this: sheeps go to heaven, and goats go to hell.
All right, Matt. We'll talk to you later, man.
Later, guys.
Matt Norlander. We have more housekeeping. Housekeeping never stops. As we mentioned, for people who are watching live, we got the Rialto, Bomani Jones, the Basketball Jones tomorrow.
Yeah.
Details. Doors open at 6. We go on stage just after 7 o'clock. You, me, Scott Wood, Lavelle Moten. Just chopping it up basketball.
Okay.
And then I think there's a Duke hate conversation with you, me, Rod, and Bomani.
Okay.
And then Bo's going to be on stage with Tyler Hansbrough and Marcus Ginyard, talking about the old days. Closing it out. So it'll be a good time. I mentioned Sully's next Thursday.
Oh, boy.
Since we are here in studio today, next Thursday, not only are we going to be taking a hockey break.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
We will be doing a OG on location break at the Happy and Hill in North Hills. The promo code is live.
OG25.
Download the app. Use that promo code 25% one-time usage.
Yes. First order.
Good stuff.
Save yourself some money and you'll be hooked on the deliciousness that is Happy and Hill.
I love that. By the way, speaking of the Canes and hockey breaks, here's the new shirt from Breaking Tea from Mikko Rantanen. The moose is loose. May I suggest that you, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a link to Breaking Tea in the description of the podcast. That is our referral code, our referral links. Click on that link and then go look up the Carolina Hurricanes. Buy the shirt. We get a little bit of something on that. And while you're there, you can also buy Ovies and Giglio shirts. Dead Conference, my sweet, sweet Carolina Cougars logo that I absolutely love. Positive vibes only. All sorts of stuff. And we got some more stuff cooking, though. But in the meantime, go to breakingtea.com. Use that link that's in the podcast and YouTube description. That's got the referral code to it, which then takes you to their website, and then you can go ahead and buy some goodies from Breaking Tea because the moose is officially loose with Mikko. We got Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. We thank them for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out online at bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, and you can also take care of the inside of your house with one of those 360 moisture barriers. Get the saran wrap for your house. Big thanks to our friends at Breeze Through. I'm going to need some coffee a little bit later today. I'm going to need their very fine car wash because I get all that salt and stuff off my car. Great laser wash over at the Lenovo Center location.
You can get gas too.
Gas is key. So check out breezethrough.com. You know what else is key? A very awesome Super Bowl extravaganza. You know who's got the orders up and ready to go for their Super Bowl?
Our friends at the Swine.
So go to longleafswine.com. You can go ahead and put the order in for whatever catering options you need. They've got like 2 pounds of their dip, their sausage dip. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Highly recommend
that. Is a winner.
You can also get their pimento cheese and all that kind of stuff. It's all there at longleafswine.com.
Also a winner.
You can go ahead, put your orders in now, and be ready to go. So again, that is longleafswine.com. So I'm sitting here looking at the, let's see, we got Wes. The cake integration is on point. We try. From Ken, from his white Chrysler band. We could do the cake references all day, man. All freaking day. So we'll get into a little bit of Hey Joe. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, which we got a little sidetracked with everything going on with the ACC and ESPN. I had joked about how really the ACC is here and safe because of Bill Belichick, Chapel Bill. And thanks to Chapel Bill and his relationship with Pat McAfee and ESPN, you get his media availability now through the podcast. I'm pretty sure that next week, isn't there like another signing day next week?
First Wednesday in February.
Okay,
yes.
so that'll be next week. Does Bill, I haven't seen an email. Have you seen an email? Will Bill Belichick actually hold a traditional press conference for signing day?
I would think, yeah.
Or is he just going to go on the McAfee show and talk about the recruiting?
Either one.
Before he talks about some other stuff. One thing that I'm really excited for him to discuss, Joe, it happened. St. Anthony's midfielder.
The bingo card is full.
Gary Merrill, a longtime men's lacrosse commit to UNC, top 25 ranked midfielder, just announced he's going to play football at UNC after receiving a recent offer from Bill Belichick and his staff. One of New York's top athletes, he was named Gatorade Player of the Year after posting 1,762 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 1,955 yards rushing, and 32 rushing TDs. and lacrosse guy.
Checks skin color. Oh yeah,
Dude, look at that.
That's got slot receiver written all over it.
Dude, that graphic is fire, by the way.
Amaze balls.
That graphic is fire. The lacrosse. I mean, is that not the distillation of Bill Belichick?
You shortchanged him though. He's not a top 25. He is the top ranked.
Oh, he's the top ranked
player in class of 25.
I apologize.
In lacrosse.
I apologize.
Well, we did it though. We got the lacrosse player.
And you know what? Bill Belichick's locked in. Don't believe me? Well, believe him on Pat McAfee's show. This was McAfee yesterday talking to Bill. Here's what he had
his suit on.
He's got his suit on. He's ready to go. And the kicker here was that Pro Football Talk isn't a good source for me. What'd that mean?
Remember, everybody thought you were going to leave UNC because you hadn't signed a contract. And there's these jobs, and then you hadn't put the staff together. And we talked to Lombo and you, and it's like, right now we're not worried about staff. Right now we're worried about putting the front office personnel, player personnel together. We're worried about the players that we're going to either keep or get in here. Whenever the coaching staff comes, we'll figure that out at the time that it needs to be. Where are you on that front? And where are we in the timeline right now of what you're trying to institute at North Carolina?
Yeah, well, we're all set. We're full speed ahead. Yeah, Pro Football Talk's not a good source for me, but you know we're this is the last week we can be out. I can be out on the road in January, and then we kind of go to a different model where these student athletes can come and visit us, but we don't see them as much on the road. So we have February to kind of work on our season program. Then we start spring ball in March through mid-April, and so football season, we'll be on the field in I don't know, a little over a month. So that'll be exciting. And we're already in the middle of the off-season program now. So, the guys are working hard, and, we're still recruiting, mostly 26 players, but there's still a few moving parts in the incoming class as well.
So that's Bill Belichick on with McAfee. He's making a reference to Mike Florio at ProFootballTalk.com. That is a reference to a story that Florio had a couple of weeks ago about the nature at which they were hiring and putting a staff together at UNC and how things were kind of lagging behind. You combine that with the fact that he hadn't signed his contract, it leads to NFL insider speculation. To be clear, they can dismiss it all day. And I know that Mike Lombardi went on social media too to hammer that point and everything else. They can dismiss it. But that is not the proper framing of what Florio and others were getting at regarding what was happening at UNC with Bill Belichick. As long as you did not have a signed contract, the NFL, and there were coaches, there were NFL teams that were still looking for coaches. That was always going to be in play. And I would understand why people would connect the dots between no signed contract, not exactly being on a timeline with hires that would kind of mesh with how other college football programs are run. I could see why people would put that together. And fine, he's there. We're not going to dismiss, that is something that you put to bed. He's there. He'll be coaching at UNC against TCU Monday Night Football to start the season. But do not dismiss the idea that what's going on over in Chapel Hill is not what people are used to seeing when it comes to college athletics. Now, you could say that's a bonus, or you could say, something's not necessarily adding up. That is not something to dismiss. And the fact that we are less than a week away from signing day, and there's still some question as to, well, how's this all going to work? Who do you contact? Who's in charge? Is he going to talk about all these kind of stuff? Are they just going to do ESPN appearances? All those things are in play. So don't dismiss that. Don't be cavalier about those types of things. I think it's perfectly okay to point out that what's going on over in Chapel Hill is not normal. But then again, when you hire Bill Belichick, you're not really getting normal. Because one of the things that I'm curious about is just how much is Bill Belichick going to be head coach at North Carolina, and how much of this is going to be media guy Bill Belichick? For instance, Belichick is going viral this week because he was on the Let's Go podcast with Jim Gray.
Oh, and Tom Brady?
Yeah. And
who wanted Pete Carroll instead of him?
The love fest between Brady and Belichick continues because Belichick wants to rename the Lombardi Trophy to the Brady Trophy.
Players win games. You can't win games without good players. I don't care who the coach is. It's impossible. You can't win without good players. I found out when I had Taylor and Banks and Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, Jim Burt, Everson Walls, all those guys of the Giants. And same thing, when we got good at Cleveland and then at New England. I mean, it's Brady, it's McGinnis, it's Vrabel, it's Brewski, it's Corey Dillon, it's Randy Moss, Troy Brown, Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, Rodney Harrison. Those are the guys that won the games. Man, I didn't make any tackles. I didn't make any kicks. That was Vinatieri that made that kick in 4 inches of snow. You got to have good players. And as a coach, you want to give your players a chance to win. You want to put them in a position where if they go out there and play well, they'll have a chance to win. That's what Coach Parcells taught me is there's always a way to win. You just got to figure out what it is, and you have to give the players a chance. They don't.
So I found that interesting.
Hey, I'm going to give him credit.
Yeah.
Unlike Jordan, who never mentions Washington, he just gave us a Cleveland reference.
He did.
That's what took me back.
Good for him.
Cleveland. I thought we didn't talk about those years.
I'm not here to dismiss Belichick's idea. I mean, you're not going to rename the Lombardi Trophy. The Lombardi Trophy is an iconic trophy. You're not going to rename it. But what you can do is you can rename the MVP trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't the NBA just do this?
They did.
So you could probably do the same thing, especially considering that Tom Brady won how many of those MVPs in the Super Bowl? What, 5 of them?
I was going to say all but 2, right?
Yeah, I think it's 5 of them. He's won 5 of them. So that seems like a really easy thing to do if you are the NFL. So I'm not against what Belichick's getting at. Recognize the players in a better way. You're not going to do that with the Lombardi Trophy. But I do think it's interesting that Bill Belichick suddenly, man, it's all love. All love with Tom Brady these days. Time heals all wounds, Joe. Big thanks to DraftKings for being a corporate champion. You can use the promo code OG24 with DraftKings. New customers who use that promo code will get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. And hey, it's the Super Bowl. It's time to get in on the action. An official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. We're just 10 Super Bowls away from it being a nice Super Bowl. Just 10. But maybe you can make this an extra nice Super Bowl by scoring touchdowns for yourself, by betting on touchdowns. I'm actually looking at DraftKings. I love these quick game parlays, single game parlays. They got one called the 6 Stack. Basically, all the stars to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, why not? $5 gang, stand up. So you can do all sorts of stuff like this. They've got one called All I Want for My Birthday, because he's the birthday boy. Saquon Barkley is the birthday boy for the Super Bowl. So there's one called Sticky Fingers, what involves Travis Kelce. I love all these. Double Trouble, including Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. All sorts of fun stuff on DraftKings. So head on over to the app, download it, use the promo code OG24. Again, that's code OG24. New customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Again, use that promo code OG24. $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
We're sitting here talking about the big game. We've talked about catering, bringing dips and things like that. What if you brought ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks to bring ice cream to their party. I mean, you got to enjoy something during halftime for dessert, right?
That sounds amazing.
So go to Two Roosters. Pick up some cereal ice cream because Saturday is the big day. Saturday is the big day.
National Breakfast Ice Cream for Breakfast Day. And the whole month, they'll have a rotating guest flavors that include all of your favorite cereals. Plus, on Saturday, open at 9 o'clock, all stores, Bo Berry Biscuit Sundays.
May I suggest an incredible weekend chill session? You go to Two Roosters. You get yourself some pints of these incredible breakfast-inspired flavors. And then you put your home field sweatpants on.
And just chill.
Hang on the couch with a spoon in your sweatpants. And just vibe. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24. You'll save 15% off your order. Incredible sweatpants. I'm looking forward to some new ones arriving tomorrow. Very excited about that. I was actually having had a drink with Chip Patterson the other day from CBS. And he pointed out to me, he's like, hey, You know, it's official business because I'm in jeans today. I'm like, you're right. But we both know that sometimes you just want to get some work done. You got to do a quick errand. You got to do them in sweatpants. Well, you might as well do them in stylish sweatpants from our friends at Homefield.
In comfort.
Homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24. You've bought so many sweatpants, so many hoodies. You need an extra fridge for all that ice cream. You might need a bigger house.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
Hometown Realty can help you out. MyHDR.com is the website you can buy, sell, and calculate. And of course, our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. WH.lawyer is the website. Check them out. You might have some questions about, hey, can we put this on a shirt? They can answer that for you.
They can.
Hey, can I break this grant of rights? No? Cool. Appreciate the help on that one. WH.lawyer is the website. Attorneys and counselors at law. We thank our friends at Whitaker and Hamer for being a corporate champion from the jump. Wait a minute. What did I do here? I took Joe out by accident. Now I'm using the wrong camera. You know what I'm going to do?
What? Hit a button?
We're just going to hit some buttons here as I'm doing this live.
Bono.
We're going to do this.
Lightning round.
No, we're not going to go lightning round. We're actually going to talk some hockey. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is the other big rivalry that's taking place this weekend. Yeah. Duke Carolina's happening in basketball. I get that. But the IcePack, the Tar Heels meeting this weekend, including the Governor's Cup matchup on Sunday. Joining us from NC State is Tim Healy, and joining us from the Tar Heels, former Carolina Hurricane, Steve Rice. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be back on.
All right, Steve, you're new to this. What do you know about all this stuff? Is Tim giving you all the right information about this thing?
Told me that on Monday, so I might show up a little late. Tim's been awesome. He's been so helpful. We had talked in the summertime. Actually, I was actually going to help the IcePack out, and then Mike Dowda, who was the old coach. He ended up taking a job in the pros, and UNC was kind of looking for a coach. And I actually talked to Tim before I even took the job. I said, "Are you okay with this?" Because we had talked. I was just going to be kind of help be a third coach, skills coach, anything like that. And he was really gracious about it and said, it's anything we can do to help build the product in this area is what we're both looking for. So that was kind of it was really nice of him to say, hey, that's great, and take it. And I've really enjoyed it. The kids are awesome, and he's got a great team and all that stuff. So I'm like I said, I'm just super excited about it.
Although, Tim, I know where you guys are at right now based on locations. I know you're in your office in the Invisalign over at Wakecomp. Steve, I'm pretty sure you're there at the Tribeca Tavern. You not going to invite him up there, man? What's up?
Yeah, I have invited him up, but he'd rather hang out down there. It is kind of funny that we're probably about 100 feet from each other. But yeah, Steve is welcome anytime up in this office up until Friday when we play our first game of the weekend, Friday night.
So, Tim, I know you've kind of spearheaded a lot of this as it relates to the game itself and kind of rebranding what the Governor's Cup is and what it's meant for. There was a ceremony, an event a couple of weeks ago at Lenovo Center where former Governor Roy Cooper came through. You renamed the Governor's Cup the Roy Cooper Governor's Cup for this thing. I'm assuming he's going to be in attendance on Sunday at Lenovo Center, right?
That I actually don't know. We have the invite out to Josh Stein for the current governor to drop the puck, and he actually hasn't gotten back to us yet. So we might be calling in Roy and just might make him a permanent fixture, dropping it.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so here's my curiosity with where these two programs are right now. If I could get a snapshot for people who might not be familiar with where things are right now, both for the IcePack and for the Tar Heels. So, Tim, we'll start with you. I think the Frozen Finley event definitely got more eyeballs on what these two programs are, right? And the game seems to have gotten more and more run since that event. So where is NC State hockey right now in 2025 in terms of where it's playing, where it's headed? Like, what is the current, the state of the program right now?
I would say our program, it's never been stronger. Even though this year we've been beset by injuries that have probably hurt us a little bit where I thought we'd be at the start of the year, but we've had more depth than we've ever had. So we're still fighting for first or second overall in our league, fighting for the first round bye in the ACHA playoffs, the caliber of players we have coming in and looking at us for next year, the cooperation we're getting from the university, be it working with our recruits and our applicants and admissions, or getting us on ESPN Plus. So it's really at an all-time high in terms of where we are as a program, both on the ice, off the ice, looking at attendance, looking at season ticket sales. We're actually running about 1,000 tickets ahead of where we were for the Governor's Cup 5 days out from last year. So it's really, couldn't be a better time to be a member of the Wolfpack.
So, Steve, what did you walk into with Carolina and the Tar Heels? Because I know they've been talking a lot about just kind of ramping up with that program as well.
Yeah. So we don't have the luxuries that NC State has. The facility is beautiful. They have access to good ice time. So we kind of struggle with where we're at. Playing at Orange County, it's county owned, and the minor league, the young kids take a lot of that prime ice time from us. So we play kind of late practices, late game times. We have a ton of kids trying to get in. We have some really good hockey players. I don't have the luxury that Tim has with admissions, getting some help. So we're trying to get our foot in the door with admissions. I don't want to jeopardize the GPA of the school, but if there's a kid that's got a really good GPA that's close, if I can get admissions to understand the sacrifices these kids to play in these junior leagues, practicing every night, traveling on weekends, the trying to get sleep for their bodies, all this kind of stuff, that if they can kind of help them out a little bit, if they're a good student. These guys are all great in the community. They're all pleasant young guys. They're not doing dumb stuff. So I just hope that the university would kind of lean towards helping us out. And we started a new drive for a new arena and facility, which would be amazing if we could get some help in that direction. It would be great for us. But we have a lot of skill. We have really good kids. Trying to get them to buy into just the whole concept of situational awareness on the ice, and that's kind of what our kind of Achilles heel might be right now. They work their butts off, and like I said, they're just great kids. We're just we're not getting the results we're hoping for, but we're really looking forward to growing this team. We're not losing a lot of guys for next year, and we look really strong for next season, and we compete. This game we're playing this weekend, the guys just are so jacked for it. They're so excited for it. So that kind of evens the playing field a bit.
Yeah, the opportunity to play at Lenovo Center, which is always fantastic. And yes, I know ice time. As a youth hockey parent, I'm fully aware that ice time is the most precious commodity here in the Triangle right now.
Yo, I was going to send some beige food over to your seat on Sunday night just to make it feel like a youth hockey experience for you.
Yeah, no, I just got the e-ticket request because I know that a lot of the youth hockey organizations in the area, including the Junior Canes, the 13U White Squad, will be in the house on Sunday.
Are you going to have the manager jacket on?
Of course I will have the manager jacket on. It's not official unless I have the manager jacket on. Come on now. Which, Steve, I actually wanted to talk to you about. You briefly mentioned this at the Governor's Cup renaming event a couple of weeks ago. And for those who might not remember, like, you were here when the Canes you were that first team.
Yes.
You're playing in Greensboro, right?
Yeah.
And, time is a funny thing. Time and success is a funny thing. And where the Hurricanes are now with the youth hockey and everything else and packing out the building and everything else, I mean, what did you think back in the Greensboro days about where this is headed versus where it is today?
Yeah, it was tough. Like I told that story about, there's a guy in the stands with a sign saying good section still available. Like it was, we were playing, they had to bring the curtain around the lower bowl so that it would make the arena feel smaller. The only time we really sold a lot of tickets was when New York was in town, Toronto, Montreal. They kind of have their cult followings, and we had a good fan base for those, but they'd score a goal and it was like we were on the road. So,
right.
But there are some diehard fans that are still here that started with the team back in '99, and hats off to them for sticking through it, because it took a few years. But they've had some good runs here. They've had some good teams. The growth of this sport, especially after 2006, was phenomenal. There's not enough ice time right now for the amount of people playing. We have so many kind of Northerners that are kind of down in this area. The adults are playing, the men are playing, the women are playing, the kids are playing. You've still got to deal with figure skating, and so there's just such a demand, and it's such a premium just to get that ice time, which is but to see the growth of the game is amazing. It's so cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and Tim, I know you were at Invisalign pretty much all day, every day, with a variety of different teams and whatnot, between the IcePack and the junior canes and everything else. I mean, the interest continues to grow, right? The interest continues to grow on the youth level. The interest continues to grow between State and Carolina. Obviously, interest continues to grow for both programs to get kids there. So I feel like this is my annual ask of you of every year. I'm assuming it gets better, right? In terms of funding, availability, talent that's coming in. So what's the next kind of ceiling to break through here locally for youth hockey? I mean, we just started high school hockey a couple, 2 years ago, I think it was, on a more consistent level. So what's the next step here?
So I think the next step for youth hockey, and actually I think the next step for hockey in general, is this would be huge for this area. And you and I have talked about this as a dream, Joe, is it could be Dorton or it could be someplace else.
Yeah.
In Raleigh, we need a 4,500 seat arena, a 3,500 to 45 seat arena. So, when we play UNC at Invisalign Friday night, it's going to be packed to the rafters. We're going to have to cut people off. The next part is the PWHL, right? We need that size of arena to attract a PWHL team. So for me, that would be the biggest thing. If we could move into a 3,500 to 4,500 seat home, then we could actually play, realistically at that point, the sky is the limit for interest. You're talking about imagine a high school state championship in an arena like that is full, because while Lenovo is cool, you don't want to play a high school state championship with 2,000 people in an 18,000 seat arena. But you put a 3,500 to 4,500 seat arena, somewhere close to Lenovo. I don't know where. There might be one that could just use, about $35 to $40 million in renovations. I think that would be just huge for the hockey community. It would be a great home for us near campus. And I'd love to have Jeff Ammons, if you're listening, maybe that could be the next project. Not that we don't love that. We love WCC, but just for hockey in the area. And again, that could help us land a PWHL team too, for a women's pro team.
Although somewhere I'm guessing former Ice Caps great Paul Strand is having flashbacks to fog on the ice as the sun's baking through. But those are things that you can solve with an update to Dorton Arena, right?
Well, at NC State with all of our engineers, think and do, we can solve that one.
So, Steve, for people who are interested, Carolina fans who are interested, I think State fans understand what's going on with the IcePack. They might learn about it, but NC State fans are going to get behind things. For Carolina fans who want to help out with the Tar Heel hockey team, other than showing up, obviously, but what's another way that people can kind of get involved and maybe be part of a booster club for the Tar Heels?
Well, we have a gentleman by the name of Colin Wall, who's the head of our booster club, and he's been very instrumental in kind of developing the growth outlooks for our school and for this program. Me being a new coach, I'm literally drinking from a fire hose this year. We're playing against teams that I've never even heard of the colleges before. That's kind of that is my limited knowledge of U.S. college hockey. So when I look at the growth, but we do have a good fan base. We, even though we got a small arena, we did get a lot of people that come out. We get a lot of kids that come out, students. We did really, we had a busy night on our senior night. For us, the fundraising program is, that's kind of our big push right now. And Colin has talked to a lot of alumni, and we are starting to ask alumni to reach out to the other alumni. So we're kind of giving guys roles to do and then to kind of help in this process. But as far as the hockey program, for us, it's just, we want to put a good product on the ice. These kids they're going to be good beer league players. They're not going pro. They all understand that. They're students first. So I want them to enjoy the experience. I want them to, at the end of the year, if they say they had a great time and they love hockey just as much, at the end of the season as they did at the beginning of the season, then I kind of feel like I've done my job. But at the same time, it's competitive hockey, so they got to understand. They got to produce. They got to, fill a role for the team, and I think that's only going to help them when they kind of graduate from this school and go on to their next careers. They're all going to be successful, but they got to learn to compete in sports as well as they do in life.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on, making some time. I know you guys are all in 8 different directions, even though you're literally about 100 feet away from each other, but you're all over the place with stuff. Best of luck this weekend. And we got Friday night at Invisalign and then Sunday at Lenovo Center. It'll be a fun time. I know there's going to be a lot of youth hockey organizations there that are going to be having a bunch of screaming kids. So be in there too with a bunch of screaming Tar Heel and NC State fans as well. So go get they're at Ticketmaster, right, Tim?
They are at Ticketmaster. Look, you go to any of our socials, see if, mix in a few more social posts up there at UNC, drive some fans from Chapel Hill. Yeah, they're on. You can go to any of our social media. They can direct you towards it, Ticketmaster, Lenovo. Or if you're an NC State student, come to our game on Friday night and we'll give you a free ticket for Sunday.
Awesome. All right, guys, appreciate it. Have fun this week and I'll see you on Sunday.
Thanks, Joe.
Are you doing?
I'm here. You're here. What? We're live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live, Joe. You've told me to ease up on some of these things and not grip so tight. So you know what?
There you go.
I am not gripping so tight. But what you should do is that when you're gripping the dumbbell,
no, you have to grip that.
You got to grip that tight. Okay.
Don't be throwing any dumbbells.
All right.
Yeah.
But you might not know how to lift a dumbbell properly. You might not know how to work this machine. That's where O2 Fitness Clubs comes into play. So check them out online, o2fitnessclubs.com. I feel like Joe needs to have an emergency renew physiotherapy today. I saw you walking up Fayetteville Street looking old, Joe. Old. You are creaky, bro.
I really am. Especially today, I played 1 round of golf and this is me. I mean, yikes.
It could also be dry January.
Some of that, but happy birthday, Punkage here.
He turned 50. You're next, dude.
You're real.
Next. You're next.
It's real.
Very real. So look, if you're old and creaky like Giglio, but you want to make sure that you can still be limber and functional in golf and not go through all these other issues, that's where Renew Physiotherapy comes into play.
Yeah. Make good choices. They'll help you make good choices.
Speaking of good choices, always a good choice to contact our guy, Matt Davis. InsureGarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call him directly, 919-779-8277. What?
Matt is a real one because he was, I think he was down in Mexico. Took some time off with his family. He comes back. He goes, he texted me last night. He goes, hey, I'm just catching up on it. Now, Matt is a Duke fan.
He's a Duke guy, yeah.
I'm just catching up on a few of these episodes now. He's like, first of all, that guy who keeps calling is not a real Duke fan. And I was like, okay.
We gathered.
And he was like, he's like, while it was amusing, he's like, you can't let people like that bother you the way that you did.
I'm guilty.
I was like, I know, especially because I'm 50 and I should be the bigger person and all of these other things. And he's like, no, don't get me wrong. He's like, it was funny.
It was for that one time.
He was like, it was funny. He's like, but
we're moving on. Well, that's the thing. Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, he texted me on Monday. And he was like, I see you've been dealing with this guy. And I'm like, yeah, at first I thought it was your typical radio bit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what that is. You get a guy, he plays a character. This is how it works with Feinbaum. Shout out to Taylor Zarzer. He had his collection of guys. Hey, Bruce and Zebulon, I know you're still out there somewhere, right? So you all had your people. They played a role.
Right.
So I thought, oh, okay, this guy's just doing this. No, that's not actually what it was.
But it was funny because he was that empathetic type of ear, because in our business, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Sometimes you worry well, what will the sponsors think?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the people, our corporate champions, know there are no surprises.
No, there's not. But was one of those where I was like,
yeah, there's no surprises there. Just like there's no surprises when you put that Roback hoodie on for the first time. You're gonna go, dang, they knew it. Giglio and Ovies were right. This is an incredible, comfortable hoodie. And as we mentioned with Renew Physiotherapy and O2 Fitness, you got to work out. You got to work out in stuff that works for you, stuff that's comfortable. Otherwise, you're not going to want to work out. Roback has incredible shorts to get those things going. So go to roback.com, use that promo code OG20. You can save 20% off your order right now at roback.com. Let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. We got a mailbag tomorrow, by the way, brought to you by the Butcher's Market. So you can email us, theoggoesdigital@gmail.com. You can hit the sports phone, the OG sports phone, anytime you
curse
want.
or don't.
You can, and there's
we should probably start encouraging people to don't. Maybe there's a prize that we can give away.
No.
Retroactively.
No, that's what the sports phone is for.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
You will want to use the OG Sports Phone for the weekend. We're going to be doing an after dark following the North Carolina Duke game. So call it 919-444-2211 and just let it rip, man. Just let it rip. And we'll have some fun with it on
Vent.
Yes.
Then chill.
Yes. And then go to Nature's Relief.
And Nature's Relief.
That's what it's all about.
What an amazing corporate synergy. So proud of myself for that one.
That was
Speaking of visions.
Very inspired of you.
I had a vision.
Very inspired of you. So go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. But in the meantime, and you can call the sports phone for the OG mailbag segment as well. But let's go through some leftover YouTube comments from Healy. Yeah, the Clemson actually comes to Keenan. I got this a few times from our listeners, and you know what that means. It's time to hit this. Yeah, much like we couldn't determine if NC State had the schedule right on their website. I can't get the schedule right when it comes to Carolina and who's playing where. But the point still stands with Clemson and Carolina.
Dandy. Home, Clemp, Duke, Stanford, UVA.
Yeah.
Road, Cal State, Syracuse, Wake Forest.
Point still stands. Dabo might have that in him. Speaking of Cuse, Left Shot Dev, reminiscing the 03 national championship game brought back some memories. Being in Metcalf dorm watching the game. Grew up in the Cuse before moving down here in high school. It was surreal. The comparisons between that team and the current Duke team make a lot of sense. Carmelo and Cooper are both linchpins, players who can have dominant games but make the entire roster greater. There might be something to it. From Will, that NC State schedule prediction sounds like a liver punch.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying when I saw the opponents, I was worried. Am worried.
Fair enough. All right, to some other YouTube comments from our guy, Bull. I think this is Bull City, right? Duke football coverage. This is how you handle the unreasonable Duke fans. When Duke wins, hey, be glad you won. If Duke loses, just say, shit, be glad you're 18-2.
That's fair.
It's a good way to go about it. From Dan, 50 years, Tar Heel fan. This roster was flawed. Nothing's going to change that. No defense, no three-pointers, NIT team at best. Okay. From Curtis, OG After Dark on Saturday after Duke Carolina. February becomes drinkuary for Giglio unless the shorties don't count.
Yeah, it's in play. Especially if I play golf Saturday afternoon.
Fair. And from Ramar, this is something that I would reference earlier when we were talking to Matt Norlander. The State and Carolina fans that are worried about their programs digging a deeper hole should relax. Pat Kelsey is showing at Louisville that there is no such thing as a hole with the transfer portal. The only hole that you really deal with is a financial one.
I was going to say, I mean, first of all, for State, you realize Louisville's budget's at about $6 million. State's is at about $2 million.
Yeah.
It's fairly significant when you're talking about the number of players on a basketball roster. Carolina's a different story, but I think what you're saying applies to Carolina. Like, when we had Brendan on and Brendan Marks, he was talking about how, the Carolina's roster next year, blah, 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 blah. That's the old math. The new math is, but you have to go in and get the right pieces out. Mm-hmm. And that's where Hubert has failed thus far.
From Davis on the YouTube comments on today's podcast, will the ACC even be a conference by 2036?
By 36?
Yes. The ACC will exist. What will constitute the ACC will be different, but the ACC will exist.
And by that point, it'll be the Irate Giglio Conference, sponsored by OG Media.
Entirely possible. From Loves the Cover, too. This is Lucy, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Lucy. I just figured this out, by the way.
Yes.
Are we getting the lawyer today? Please, can we get the lawyer? I live for the lawyer talking about this ish. We'll reach out to Mackenzie next week. I feel like Mackenzie deserves a victory lap.
Yeah, we need a re-up too.
Yeah, we do need to talk to him about that kind of stuff. From Irish Guy, Notre Dame is down for this. Would rather play more top tier ACC teams. Yeah, because that helps you out when it comes to the college football playoff. Straight up, that is what's going to help you out. From Ron, Joe G, honey citrus tea with an extra shot of honey at Starbucks. Used to be called the medicine ball.
Okay.
Or may I suggest you just go, let's try January, but maybe you break it for medicinal purposes. Go to the Morning Times.
30th.
Go to the Morning Times.
I got one more day.
Get it. Go to the Morning Times. Go get the breakfast tea.
Yeah.
Dump a bunch of honey in it. And they'll even give you a shot of, I forgot what bourbon they have there at Morning Times. But you can put that in there and you'll be fine. That's what I do when I'm starting to lose the voice.
Yes.
I'm a little scratchy. That's, I mean, honestly, that is what I would do. So what else do we have here? From Mindy. I'm just here for the cake references. Well played. I'm over here in my short skirt and a long jacket.
And a long jacket.
Doom, doom. Great track. I love Cake. Love that album. Well, that's off a different album, but that's another story altogether. That's going to wrap it up for today's OG Live, brought to you by the Butcher's Market. We will be back for an OG mailbag brought to you by the Butcher's Market. You can sign up for the full OG mailbag at ogtrianglemedia.com. Heck, go sign up today so you can get a last-minute discount to the Basketball Jones at the Rialto tomorrow, Friday.
Also, don't forget that we just talked about UNC football and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we talk about ACC basketball, it's brought to you by our friends, the Donnelly team, Keller and Williams, Brian and Julie.
Do I need to go to the fine jar for them?
Give them a shout. 919-616-8681. TriangleNCCommercial.com. Again, give them a call. 919-616-8681. A lot of people going back to work. A lot of businesses looking around going, now, wait a second. Can't we make a better deal now that this current environment has changed? Yes, you can. And the Donnelly team can help you make that better deal.
See, I jotted that down. K-Dub, right?
Yeah.
Did I cross it off? No, I didn't.
See,
because you know me, man.
That's why I'm here.
I get a little discombobulated when we're live. We will see you tomorrow.